Hey everyone, Shawn Clement here, Wisdom in Golf, and along with our wonderful location in Richmond Hill, Ontario, headed by Mr. Paul Davies, we are at the Royal Quebec Golf Club in Quebec City. Beautiful, beautiful place. And today we're elaborating on the grip for the backhander. So if I had that machete and I was gathering and slashing through that sugarcane or bamboo shoot, you'd realize that that grip pressure would be significantly secure, right? So we had a wonderful discussion a couple of weeks back on, intensifying grip pressure actually increases ball compression and the ball speed coming off the club and gets you a little bit more distance. So you'll find as a backhander, and Mo Norman was also a backhander, and he used to talk about how he would, squeeze the blood out of his lead hand. Well, that's very close. I wouldn't say squeezing the blood out, but I feel like my lead hand is very secure, much more so than when I'm playing on my forehand. So because it's my dominant hand, it obviously has a tendency to take over. It really feels like my lead hand is extremely secure on the club. And what I've had to learn how to do is really treat, because I used to be one of those who would let go with that trail hand. And then I realized, and this is what really helped release the club, because when you're using the sword, and so if you had that sword in your hands and you're slashing through, notice my release here. This is really key. See how that elbow kicks down and allows the hand to turn over and reset on that snuff box. Now I could slash in the other direction. So notice how I can release in that direction, then it rehinges and release in that direction. So I really feel a very significant release with that hand. And many of you who are lead hand dominant are having a hard time delivering on that release. You tend to slice the ball a lot, because that lead hand is coming through and it just won't turn over. So that trail hand is going to be very key. You got to allow it to stay on the club. So you have to secure that grip. And as that lead hand releases, notice how that trail hand has to follow and turn over with it. So if I was playing baseball, I'm waiting for that baseball pitch, and this is where this is how I play baseball left-handed. So the pitch is coming. You see how my lead hand had to release under my trail hand. So otherwise you would get, you'd break your wrist, or you'd have to let go, and, you'd have a big wide follow through on the bat. So a really good release of the bat, there's that nice snap. So when I'm taking my club, I use the overlapping grip, and the purpose of that pinky is to really secure the two pads of that trail hand on the club. So if we look, so there's that pinky right there, and it's like a little zip line, and it clamps down the two pads of my trail hand on top of the thumb and clamps it on. So when I'm getting ready to perform my task, so there's my hammer, I'm hammering toward the target, and both my hands are going to stay on the club, and then I get this wonderful release through the shot. You see how my lead hand is under my trail hand now, and you can see how that club has really been allowed to close. Okay? So I've got my door frame. I got my ball slightly back of center. I'm doing that draw again. I'm going to feel a nice squeeze through the door frame, and I'm holding the ball nice and low through the shot. So a little thin on that one. That's a good miss. 178 on the carry. So the path was excellent. Nice little draw. Launch angle a little low because I hit it a little thin. So let's try that again. Ball back, get behind the ball. There we go. Now I feel like I can really squeeze it with the heft of the hammer. So gather, deliver through. So I felt that nice release. Ball came back wonderfully. So there's my stock 6-iron, about 185 carry. Excellent. There's that draw, there's that path, and that launch angle was a little bit better there at 14 degrees. So you notice how easy it is to draw when both hands stay on the club. So when you watch your favorite player, you'll see a lot of them really don't let go of that club all the way into the finish. It's the only way that the golf club is going to release you. So a good feel of that release is like a top spin backhand in ping pong. So if I wanted to have the ball release over the table and dive, notice how my elbow is going to kick down and it's going to kick the hand over the top of the ball. And the angle of the wrist here, there's so many things that have been said about bow the wrist, cup the wrist, all that stuff. Whereas what people don't really talk a lot about when they're watching players on tour is what's the shot that they're trying to hit. Are they hitting a high fade? It'll look a little more cupped. Or are they hitting a low draw? It'll look a lot more bowed and a lot more released when they're hitting that low draw. Bubba's a fantastic example of that. Even though he's a forehander, he throws with his left hand and plays left-handed. That's like Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. So I'm securing the grip. I'm playing my draw, ball back, get behind. Really feel that my lead side is behind the ball. I feel like I'm getting ready to really squeeze through the door frame in the direction I want to start the ball. So I gather the weight of the hammer and release through. Ooh, that felt good. That was compressed. Boom, excellent. So we're looking at 197 total, 186 carry, perfect path, 10 degrees from in to out. Exit of the ball is 6 degrees left, so my club face was about 4 degrees closed to that path. That gave me a beautiful little draw. And because the grip is so nice and secure, I feel like I'm really trapping the ball into that trajectory. And that's what gives me the ability to draw the ball. And I remember for years as a lefty, I used to be one of those slicers. Now it feels like my stock shot is that tight little draw, especially with the driver. I'm a little more accurate driver of the golf ball because of my lead hand. And you would know that from Phil Mickelson, obviously, right? And that's where I could see Phil being a little bit more behind the hit when it comes, because that's where he's dropping a lot of shots out to the right. He gets a little too far ahead of it and blocks it to the left. So if you get ahead of the shot, you can't square it up. So if you're a little more behind the hit, it's way easier to square that up and really feel that nice squeeze and compression through there. So you'll notice that when I'm coming through nice and low, I really feel the back of that hand secure up against that door frame. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next week where we'll integrate this into some nice short games, some flop shots, maybe a couple of bunker shots. Again, that backhander has a wonderful ability, especially for cut shots. Very easy to do with that lead hand. We'll see you then.